Well, ladies and gentlemen, today I'd like to talk to you about sort of commitments that we have before we join the club. These aren't very, very hard rules, but they're also known as promises. But I just like to use the words commitments. Right before we join the club, there's a 10 set of subsets that we tend to follow. I just wanted to do a refresher today. But not only that, I wanted to talk to you about what it takes to stay committed to your goal within the club, whether your goal is to speak or whether your goal is to take upon roles. And how do we stay more active? So that's what the presentation is going to be about. So we'll review the club commitments. We'll talk about why regular attendance is important in the club to your success, and the 4 techniques that you can do to stay on task with the things that you want to do. So let's start with them. To the best of my ability, I will, that's when you come into the club, attend regularly, which is important for many reasons. You attend regularly, you keep the momentum going, so your pace and your education keeps on going forward and forward. Every time you have to stop, you're like a train that stops. Carefully prepare speeches. Of course, everybody wants to hear you prepare good speeches and also speak well, so they can evaluate you and learn something from your speech and also from their evaluation. Fulfilling all assignments as an officer. If you're an officer in the club, if you choose to be so, you always take upon a duty of doing some tasks so that the club as a whole can stay organized and can function properly. Also, when you're in the club, not only do we give speeches, which is one aspect of the club, but we also evaluate speeches. Now that goes twofold. The person who just spoke and is receiving evaluations has a chance to receive criticism or critical feedback, and the person that is giving an evaluation has the chance to learn how to listen properly and provide a good evaluation, how to put words together. Contribute to a positive and friendly place, and this one I think is a major part of the club. We have people of all different aspects in the club, from all different beginnings. Some are very experienced, and some come to us as the newest speakers. It is our goal to keep the club very positive and a friendly experience so that nobody feels excluded. That's part of what being a Toastmaster is about. Another one was serve as an officer. Of course, this is optional. Nobody's going to force you. But if you do feel like it after a while, you kind of got the ropes down and you want to do something more, you want to feel like you're organizing something or take a leadership role, serve as an officer. It's an opportunity to serve for 1 year with other fellow officers. To the best of my ability, I will tell my friends about the club if I choose to do so. That's a big one. You don't have to evangelize, but if you like where you are, if you like the club, if it's a fun place, and if you feel like your friends will get some benefit out of it, go ahead, tell them, bring them in as a guest. If you don't, then you don't. Follow club guidelines and standards. Of course, we have a club and we're organized as a club. It took many years to organize this into a procedure where you can start at the very bottom of the ladder and climb up as your speaking skills increase and you get much better in the auditory sense. So that's why we have structure, as you saw today with the roles. And always keep an ethical stance, and this applies not just for the club, but try to keep it in life, of course. So here's the big one. Commitments are all nice, but sometimes it's happened to me last year. For 1 whole year, I think I gave about 4 speeches. That was just not very often. What happens is we participate less and less. We start out, we're all hot about it. Yeah, I'm going to do speeches. And then we suddenly dwindle down like a little candle whose fire is about to extinguish. Before you do that, check your reasoning. That's the first thing you should do. Don't just say, okay, this club's wrong for me, or I'm not doing something right. Don't blame yourself. Check your reasoning. Maybe you outgrew the club. It could happen in some clubs. Maybe you're not feeling supported. If that's the case, talk to one of the officers that you're friendly with, or some of the people that you're friendly with. And of course, there might be a solution. Third, we understand that you might have important things to do. Thursday night, you might have to pick up your children, and that's just the time that won't work for you, and that's all right. That's why there's other clubs in Toastmasters that you can join if you want to. So that happens. And the last one is the one that I find that happens the most often, the time. I don't know where it all goes. The week passes and you just say, whoops, I just didn't have time to prepare my speech. So how can we work on that one? Well, when attendance drops, here's the problem. Skill work drops. As you know, every skill that you train requires repetition. If you do one repetition and you quit for a certain amount of time, you have to repeat that repetition once again. It's, as I said, it's like a train. Think of a train. It's very hard to start a train moving. Once you start it, it's easy to keep it going. But if you start and you stop and you start and you stop, you're getting nowhere. Finally, as I know Eric talks about a lot of times, stage time, stage time, stage time. And he's right. The more you spend on the stage, the better your skills develop and the more comfortable you feel. It goes back to having momentum. So it's important to keep coming back and giving speeches at least once a month. Now the question is, it's all said and done. It's fine if you say, okay, I want to be committed, right? But before you can be committed to something, you really have to ask yourself why. That's the big question. What is the big payoff in the end? Why are you going to Toastmasters? What's the reason for it? Is it because you like to network with people? Maybe it's because you want to develop your oratory skills. Or maybe you like to lead in roles, perform roles and get a better grasp on working with people. What about learning new materials? You get to listen to different speeches from different points of view. You're not just listening to the same people you see at your jobs, let's say. That's a big one for me. That's the reason I keep coming back. And future investment for your career. A lot of times we have that, where people come in and they say, I have to give presentations at work, but yet I'm having a hard time. In the end, without a reason, you won't make time. So sit down, plot down your reason. Why are you in Toastmasters? What makes it important to you? And only then can you take that and make it into a commitment. Okay, so last one, 4 techniques in making time. And these go through my college days and also my work days. These are some of the techniques I've learned, little brain tricks that allow you to make time for whatever it is you're working on. 1, a lot of times we get overwhelmed, there's too much going on, and you don't realize you have time because you just don't realize it. One thing you can do is just sit silent for about 10 minutes. You'll be surprised, it's not that easy to do. Just sit silent for 10 minutes and do nothing. It clears your head and it gives you better judgment so that maybe you can then decide and say, okay, I'm going to start working on my project. This helps a lot. It's not easy, but it's worthwhile. The second technique that you can do is the pommodoro technique. It's kind of a brain trick. What you do is just grab your kitchen timer, or you can even use your timer on your cell phone. Put it for 25 minutes. That 25 minutes is your allotted time. You don't have to worry about anything within that 25 minutes. There's no anxiety. There shouldn't be. That's your time. And get to work. When 25 minutes has passed and you hear the ring, stop, take a break for about 5 to 10 minutes. Repeat. Rinse and repeat. You'll see that it's going to be easier for you to start working and start being focused using this technique. I really like this one. Block out times in calendars. Now think back to college days. Remember when they gave us the schedule sheets and you had your classes written down on the schedule sheets and you knew at 10 o'clock, 10 to 11, I have that class, I have to be there. Why don't we apply that to good old life? Why don't we apply that to the things we have to do? Well, that's exactly what you do. In your calendar, block out certain times. Block out from 10 to 12, I'll work on creating a speech. In fact, don't sell yourself short. Well, I do this a lot, but I try not to now. You're actually doing mental work here. Why not consider it an educational experience? You're not getting credit for it maybe, but it still is like a class. Put it down and you'll take it more seriously, and you'll actually start to do it. Finally, this one's a tricky one. It really depends if you're a procrastinator or not. Sometimes this can cause anxiety, but sometimes it could be very helpful. And that's the Parkinson's law, which states work expands to fill the time allowed for its completion. It expands in complexity. So if you have a week to do something and you're given a week, guess what? You'll probably do it on the last day at 10 o'clock at night. So if you give yourself an actual deadline, say I'm going to do it within the next 8 hours, it'll actually help you get it done within the next 8 hours instead of expanding it towards a whole week. So these are the 4 techniques you folks can use in order to get started with Toastmasters, planning your projects and speaking, or anything else in life, really. Finally, takeaways. What are some of the takeaways we learned from here? Respect the club you're attending. I think that summarizes all the 10 points that we went through in the beginning. If you're not motivated to attend a night or attend several nights, ask yourself why. It's a really serious question. Ask yourself why and respect your answer also. Finally, try out the time-making techniques. See if they work for you. Some might not work, some might work. We're all different people, right? With that said, thank you very much, and I hope to see you again next time at the club. Thanks.